Hiya fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today's video is going to be on how to feed canned green beans. That's right folks, canned green beans. Now I learned about canned green beans probably about 2.5, 3 years ago from Corey at Aquarium Co-op, back when he was just a small channel, and I've been doing it ever since. It's a great way to get your fish, especially like Plecos in my case, some fresh vegetables, and we all know fresh vegetables are good. Now, before we get started with this, do me a favor, grab a snack and a beverage, and you know, if you need any ideas about snacks, check out my new cooking channel, Michael's Eats. And stand by, I'll be right back to teach you about canned green beans. Alright fishy folks, we're back. Let's talk about the canned green beans. Now, pretty sure I've done a video on this a few times, or at least talked about it in my feeding Pleco videos. But how to feed canned green beans to your fish. So, the questions I get asked are, does it matter if it has salt in it? For me, no. I don't really care. As a matter of fact, I think the salt helps, especially the live bearers. Do you wash them? Nope. I take them straight out of the can, drop them in the tank. Never had a problem. Now, I do overfeed green beans a little bit to my Plecos, but I have an auto water change system. So I could overfeed a little bit and not come down to the fish room for 2 days or 3 days and not worry at all about my water quality because of the auto water change system. You, on the other hand, probably don't have an auto water change system. So you have to sort of watch how much you feed. The question that this leads to is, how long do you leave them in the tank? I leave them in until they're gone, and usually they're gone within 24 hours. Sometimes it takes longer. Now, in your case, I would only leave them in for 24 hours. I believe after that, they will start breaking down and could possibly cause, you know, a little with your cycle, if you know what I'm saying. If you're not sure what I'm saying, it could crash your cycle, because it's going to break down and could cause excess ammonia, boom, bad cycle, dead fish. We don't want that. 24 hours is what I would recommend. Do you wash them? Nope. Take them right out of the can, plop them in the tank. I do sometimes drain them, because you know there's all that green bean juice, and I simply do that because it makes less of a mess as I'm, you know, doing this to tanks and feeding. So really, it's very simple and very easy. As I mentioned before, there's the can sale at ShopRite, which is a local grocery chain in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. So these, not these, but the ShopRite brand is 40 cents each. These I buy at BJ's, which is a wholesale club, and they're 50 cents each. Occasionally there's a coupon which makes them 45 cents each. But alright, so let me show you basically what I do. Go ahead and refill your snack and your beverage. And you know, here's a good time. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, why don't you consider subscribing and stand by. Alright fishy folks, here is the can opener I use. I've talked about it before. I'll put a link in the description below. It's just a cheap can opener, but what it does is it makes it so it cuts the side. So it makes it so that there's no sharp edge, which is great when Lucas, my 8-year-old son, comes down and feeds the Plecos. He loves to feed the Plecos. Alright, so we open it. Take the lid off. There, no sharp edge, right? No sharp edge, see? And there's your canned green beans. And all I do is I take them out like this and drop them in the tank. Let me show you that, alright? Stand by. Alright fishy folks, we're here at one of my Pleco breeding tanks. These are just your standard, everyday, ordinary bristlenose Plecos. You can see there's probably about 50 in there, different sizes, plus the mom and dad and whomever else is in there. Also, there's some mome, which as you know I love, and there's some snails, because I overfeed the bejesus out of this tank. And it doesn't look like there are any assassin snails. Not that an assassin snail or two could keep up with all these snails, but here's what we do, folks. Canned green beans right here. Look at that. It's not focusing. There we go. Del Monte. And then all I do simply is take a bunch and drop them in. And as I've shown before in the super red Pleco tank, the Plecos are just going to flock to this. So let's watch this, maybe a little fast motion and some relaxing music, and see what happens. Alright, fishy folks, you can see the Plecos are obliterating these French cut green beans. Now it's important to note I only recommend the French cut green beans, and that's the trick I learned from Corey. I think the inside of the green bean is what the Plecos really like, and so that's what they're attracted to. And the French cut basically means a regular green bean sliced thin in half, the lengthwise, so it exposes the tender and delicious inside of the green bean. This is all my unscientific study. I know that regular green beans they'll eat, but certainly not as readily and as amazing as this. Look at that. That's like me eating a taco. Speaking of tacos, I love me some tacos. And I did a taco video on my other channel. You guys should check that out. Link right here. Alright, fishy folks, that's it for how to feed canned green beans to your fish. Again, I only use French cut green beans. I don't care if there's added salt. I don't rinse them. I do drain the can in most cases so I don't make a mess. Also, that water from the canned green beans can cloud your water a little bit because obviously it's not very clean. And what else? I don't really care the brand. I buy them on sale. I use a really cool can opener, and it's very easy. Don't overthink it. That's another thing I see a lot of people do in this hobby is they overthink things. These are just canned green beans. Don't overthink them. Guys, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you will consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And check out my website, michaelsfishroom.com. See ya. And of course, as I mentioned in a few videos ago, there's the can sale at my ShopRite, which is a restaurant, not a restaurant. There's a... I think the inside of the green bean is what the guppies, not guppies, those are Plecos. Hi fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Guys, if you haven't done so already, why don't you consider... No, I should not start with that. Hi fishy folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video, how to feed canned green beans. Now, I'm pretty sure I've gone over this a couple times. I talk about canned green beans a lot. I learned about this trick from Corey from Aquarium Co-op, you know, probably 2.5, 3 years ago, back when he was a small little channel. And I started doing it because it is a cheap alternative to commercially based food, and there's no additives, it's just green beans. So I have gotten a couple questions lately on how to do it. Do you rinse them? Does it matter if there's salt? I'm gonna go over all that. So grab a snack and a beverage, and if you haven't done so already, you should probably check out my new cooking channel, Michael's Eats, on what snacks to make. Quesadillas, bacon, whatever. And stand by for some knowledge. No, that's dumb. Hiya fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today's video is going to be on how to feed canned green beans to your fish. Now, my guppies do eat the canned green beans, but for the most part they're for my Plecos, but I've heard many other species will eat the canned green beans, especially if they are herbivores. Herbivores meaning plant eating only. So I'm pretty sure I've done a video on this, or I've talked about it a lot, but let me just give you some history just in case you haven't seen those. So I don't know, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I learned about canned green beans from Corey at Aquarium Co-op back when he was a small little channel, and I started doing it because I could buy canned green beans pretty cheap and feed. At that point, it was the whole fish room for a couple days. You know, now I have quite a few more tanks with quite a few more breeding setups of Plecos, and I could do 1 can a day, and that wouldn't be enough, actually. 1 can is barely enough in the fish room. Now, that said, I do overfeed a little bit because I have the auto water change system. If you don't, you're going to want to be a little more careful. All right. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Let's get back to the green beans. I should probably just start over. This is terrible.